Hi everyone, it's Alyssa here in my currently messy kitchen because I just finished painting this. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really quick. Okay, it's not really quick, but it's easy and it doesn't take as much time as I thought. You need a newspaper surface, a cup with some water, paint brushes, and the paints that I've given you, and of course your canvas board. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. Let me show you how it's done. So here's how we're going to get started. We're going to start with our sky, our background. We're doing a lovely kind of sunset-y look to our sky. So I have a reference picture of a sunset on my computer that I'm looking at right now. And so we're going to have our sun hanging out on the horizon over here, and around the sun it's kind of orangey, yellow, pinky, and then it moves up and it's very light blue streaked with white. There's almost no blue color to it anymore. So we're going to do that. We have all of our colors, and you can mix your colors either on a plate, on newspaper. I have my newspaper covering my table, or you can mix your colors right on the canvas. That's also okay. So we're going to start with some blue and some white. So I want to make sure I have a lot of white and a little bit of blue, and just mix that up right on my canvas. I need a little more white in here. And your colors can be streaky like this. It doesn't need to be one solid kind of blue. It can be this beautiful mix, because that's what the sky looks like, right? The sky is not one particular shade. It's kind of streaked and mixed all the way through. You want to figure out where your horizon is going to be. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go in with let's do like an orangey next. So let's do a little yellow, kind of right in here. Okay, I don't want it to be green. A little yellow. I'll mix some red there with that. Get it to be a little orangey. And some more white to kind of lighten that up. And I'm almost using the white as like a tool to blend everything. Because see how just what the difference between the two sides, this looks kind of sunsetty and this does not. So I'm using this white here to just help me blend everything together. And I think in the middle, I'm gonna mix some yellow off to the side with some more white. See if I can get like a nice pale yellow for our sun. And just kind of put just an idea. I feel like Bob Ross would call it like, it's like the notion of a sun, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a perfect sun on the horizon. But we've got this notion of something that's giving us this lovely light. And it doesn't need to be perfect here because we're going to cover that with our horizon, with our grass. I'm going to go with the red again, mixed with some of that orange. Kind of pull away from the sun. Now I'm going to do some red with some white to get more of a little pink tone to go up into the sky. And that'll blend a little bit with the blue to get us those beautiful sunset-y colors. take my brush that still has blue on it and go in like that to blend it through. And it's okay to cover this little sun thing over here too. It's okay. Grab some more white. Go back to the blue and white. Grab a little more white to mix with the blue. And some white just to blend it all together. So acrylic paint dries pretty quickly, and so I like to kind of just try to do this kind of fast. Okay, so we've got like our little sunsetty thing going on. I'm gonna give my brush a little wash. Okay, so I'm gonna start next with some green. We're gonna start our horizon. So we want this to be light green. So what you do is the further away something is, the lighter it'll look. If you look at any landscape, some of your, Bob Ross says this all the time, your farther away mountains and trees are a different, lighter, maybe less saturated color than what's up front. So I'm gonna grab some white and I'm gonna add a little bit of green over here. Mix it up so it's kind of light. And I'm going to add a little yellow as well, just to make it more of a grassy kind of color. Because that's what we're doing. We're going to do some grass now. And I'm just going to bring that across here. See, remember, that's why I said don't worry about your lines, because we're just going to go right across them. And you can make it kind of hilly, right? This is a nice landscape. Maybe there are hills in your landscape. It's a little more interesting that way. Couple times just to make sure you have even coverage of your colors here. Okay, I'm going to add a little more green back into this green color that I'm mixing kind of just up here. I'm going to add a little more green and a little brown, just to change that color and make it a little bit darker. And again, we're going for a grassy kind of look. Okay, so now I'm going to add another layer to my hilly landscape over here. And these can be different hills. It doesn't need to be the same shaped hill. You don't need to follow the line that you made before. Now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to add more brown to my green color that I'm mixing, so it's even darker. If you need to, you can add more of the regular green into it. So I've got a color that kind of looks like that right now. It's definitely darker than this one. And I'm gonna fill up the rest of my landscape here with that. And again, you can make some little hills and bumps, but this is our last green kind of color here that we're making. Something that I'm doing is I'm also just gonna make sure that I get my little edges down here on the other side of the board. You could frame it, or you could just hang it up or put it somewhere as is without a frame. but I like to just make sure my edges are finished, just in case I'm just gonna leave it, you know? Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry for just a sec. You can go over any places that you feel like don't have enough color. Like I'm gonna go over the light green just a little bit. I'm gonna add some more white to my sun and some more white up here, and then I think that I'm gonna be ready to move on. So we won't let this dry because the next thing we're gonna do is our tree. I've done some readjusting for the moving sun. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do our tree. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do our tree, which is gonna take up over here on the right side of my canvas. And I'm just gonna take, I guess I'm gonna use black. I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm going to very gently and generally kind of sketch out where my tree is going to live. So I want the roots to come, I guess, pretty close down here. And I do want it to kind of take up a lot of space, so base of the tree. I'm gonna take a big branch all the way across. And maybe there's another branch coming up this way. Another one. Down to our tree trunk. Right, all right. So I'm gonna just start kind of generally here. Grab my black. All right, here it goes. I'm not really good at drawing. I was okay at this stuff. Here we go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and follow my outline and try to make it nice and smooth. There we go. Here's my tree. It's a big commitment. This is the big commitment here, right? And kind of like with the hills, remember it is a tree, so you can make some lumps and bumps. It's not going to be perfect. Maybe there are some knots in your tree. That's okay. Each tree will be totally unique, just like they are out in real life. That's the way it's supposed to be. I guess I'm gonna bring this kind of far across. This is a big branch. And maybe it breaks off a little down there. And there's another part that keeps going and breaks off down there. And I just made a mark on the canvas, so that's gonna be a branch that goes up here. Right there. I mean, there's really no hard and fast rules on this one, I don't think. I mean, you could really outline it down to every last branch and the thickness and whatnot if that makes you more comfortable. I am just winging it. So you can probably see I'm kind of bouncing my brush into this canvas board, so there is kind of that texture. So you can see here I didn't fill it in because I haven't filled in my black yet. You can see there's that texture. So even if you think that you've got it really filled in, just be careful that you don't have any of those little white squares coming through. It just makes your painting look a little unfinished. Unless you like the way it looks, then it's your canvas and I'm not going to tell you what to do. Okay, so that's my tree. I might add another branch right in here. Just kind of growing up, doing its best. There we go, that's kind of fun. All right, so I'm gonna smooth this out. There's some extra little lumps of paint in here. The next thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna start our tire swing, which is just gonna come right down here. Okay, so now we're gonna get our circle going. Good luck, good luck. If you need to hold your breath right now, you can hold your breath right now. Mine kind of looks like an egg. It's a very old tire. You can also trace it out beforehand. I didn't. I could have. Okay, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. We're gonna take a break from the hard work and we're going to add what makes this autumn and beautiful, and we're gonna add our leaves. So I'm gonna go back to my small brush, clean it off, and I'm gonna start with my red. And I'm just going to add dots of leaves wherever these branches are ending, where they would have leaves. Obviously, we're not going for realism here, and also you don't need to fill up the trees with the first color, the red. We're gonna go back in with yellow, we're gonna make some orange, and we're going to have all of the colors. You can make your dots different sizes. Big, small, barely there. Okay, now it's time for yellow. Right, it's a little sparse right now, but we're gonna keep building and building. So as we keep building yellow, red, we'll get some orange tones. We'll have more layers. We're just gonna keep building, and it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's perfect. And so I'm doing one after another, so my brush is picking up a little bit of the red. And think of those leaves that you see. There are more than one color, and they're magnificent. They have shades of red and orange and yellow all together in one leaf. That's what we're doing here. And you could break away from the branches a little bit. We'll fill this all in slowly. So it's just a lot of layers right now is what we're gonna do. Just a lot of layers of these nice fall leaves. I accidentally got black on there. I'll keep going, reset, all good. You can also add some white to your yellow to make it a little more brilliant. So I'm gonna add some white, oops. And add some white to some yellow. Make that stand out a little more. And go back in with another layer of yellow. And again, I'm going to start to fill in. And let's go back into red. I'm just twirling some of the excess yellow and white off of my brush. I don't want them to mix too much, but it's okay that there's still some on there. All right, let's go back in with another layer of see now that the yellow is down and wet, we'll get some orange tones. There's some white in there. We'll get some like pinky sunset tones. But see, I'm filling in some of the holes, and here's a really good example over here. Let's see, so over here, I'm now I'm getting like a little blend, and it's kind of just like when you're looking at a tree in nature. You know, you can see some individual leaves, but from afar, it just looks like this beautiful burst of these fall colors. So I can see some sky through my branches and my leaves, but I don't need to see sky entirely. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna bring the leaves down here. It's fall, there are leaves on the ground, right? So I'm gonna bring it down here. I'm gonna add a little white in there to make it pop against my grass. All right, so now let's get this corner here. Just gonna do the same thing. I could go over the trunk, it could be behind the trunk. Just gonna add a little bit, kind of everywhere. Maybe this is a big pile, right? Maybe there's just a really nice large pile over there of leaves. All right, my battery died, so we've readjusted a little bit. And I have filled in my leaves. The last thing I want to show you is, so I take my brush every now and then, and I kind of like twirl it on the paper just to kind of reestablish the point so it's not so splayed out. And then I go in and do my dots again. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that now. So we are going to do our barn next. We're going to let this all dry. Again, I'm going to take my pencil just to kind of sketch it out a little bit, so I know that I like, I guess, the size and the placement. So we're going to go over here for our barn. I'm going to take my pencil and just kind of sketch out a nice barn on our hilly area. It's kind of like a stereotypical barn shape with the pointed roof, nothing too fancy, pretty elementary here, and just like a little building off to the side. And we're gonna fill that in with red, like a barn. So you can keep it red like this, or if you want to mix a little brown into it and have like a rusty barny kind of color, you can do that as well. I might try that. I'm going to start out with just this bright red, just the red just as is, as it comes in our little container, and decide how I like it. And then I can add the other color on top and kind of blend it together, which might create a nice look to begin with. Make sure you're really keeping that paintbrush loaded with paint. I keep going in to dip in because that gives you smoother lines. The more paint that you have on your brush, the smoother your lines will be. Of course, you also just want to have a gentle hand. And so we'll go back in with another layer just to make sure we are covering up the colors underneath from our hill. So this needs to dry now before we can add our details here. I'm going to go back to my brush that had this black on it, and we're gonna add in our highlights to our tree and our tire swing. Sounds scary, but we're gonna do it. So we're gonna take some white onto our brush. This still has the black on it. That's okay, that's what we want. And we're gonna add some highlighting kind of on the inside here. And on the outside here. Right, that looks atrocious, but we're gonna blend it, I promise. Little dippy dip of black, just a little bit, and then we're gonna go in. And blend it. See, I have just a little bit of black, but there's still some white on my brush, and so it's kind of blending in. And you can just go really slowly here and just follow the curve of your tire. Get that in here too before it dries. Reload with a little bit of black or white as you need to. The nice thing about this is that if this gets a little messed up, guess what? Black covers everything, and you can just go over it again with the black. That's my secret for this part. Okay, look at that. All of a sudden, this tire has a dimension and kind of looks like a tire. Now, the scarier part is we have to do that to the tree as well. So I'm not going to do as stark of a white highlight. I'm going to mix kind of a grayish color with my black and my white. I can put a little brown in there too. This dark grayish, blackish kind of color here. And we're going to add dimension to our tree. We're going to try to follow highlights, right? So here's the sun here. So let me add some highlight right to these knobs, these knots in the tree. And kind of over here. Right, and this gives us some dimensions so we can see which branches are more prominent and where they go and where they lead to, where they come from, what they're built out of. Don't be afraid to add some more white highlight as you go. Always, like I said before, darken it back up. And because all the paint is wet, it's going to just blend with each other. Look at that, that's nice. Maybe in doing so, I add some dimension to show where my root is and how thick the root of the tree is. And I'm also going in with some black and blending it as I need to, so these edges are a little softer. Here, where there is no obvious sunlight, you can just kind of create some ridges and here as well, where maybe the bark is sticking up, and that's where those highlights are gonna come from. And you can just imagine what the tree looks like there. It's nature. I guess there's not much of a wrong answer, and it doesn't need to be perfect. You make these kind of funny little lines, and our brains and our imaginations will fill in the rest and make it look like what it needs to look like. And don't worry if you feel like you're hitting parts of your leaves. You just go back in and add more. This is a layering process. That's kind of what painting is. Just lots of layers and layers and layers. And at a certain point, like me, you gotta say, okay, I'm done, because now I'm messing it up. I'm done. Okay. We are going to clean off one of our brushes, and this is drier now, so we can add in our white details that make it look like a barn. We're going to add in our trim so that we can see the shape of our barn. Just loading my brush up, and we're gonna outline it. And you don't need to be perfect, but again, load up your brush. It helps keep everything nice and smooth. Okay, so you can go ahead and now you can clean up anything that you want to clean up. I cleaned up my darker green hill over here a little bit. You can add some more leaves wherever you would like. Whatever makes you happy. You can clean up your sunset a little bit, which I might do. Do whatever you would like. You can keep adding layers to your tree, highlights and lowlights. Whatever makes you happy at this point, but this is it. This is your little tire swing on a barn, on a farm with a barn, and it's in the fall, which is why I was so happy to do this. I love fall. I think it's a great time to just do fun outdoor activities. It'll be much cooler. I say this because right now I am actually painting this during one of our heat waves. I'm doing this a little ahead of time so that I can take the picture and promote it. And it's hot. It's really hot out. So I'm just looking forward to cooler fall days as depicted here. You can also go ahead and add some dimension to your tire swing rope. The same way that we did with the tree. All right, so this is it. This is our painting. I'll bring it a little closer so you can see. There's our tire swing, there's our barn and our leaves and our tree. There it is. There is our picture, and we painted it all by ourselves. Pretty cool. I didn't think I was going to be able to do this. This is actually the first time I've done this. Didn't think I was going to be able to do the tree, and honestly it looks great. Just remember to follow your light, and remember, as your paint is wet, as this acrylic paint is wet, it is so easy to just blend and keep going in dark tones, light tones, dark tone, light tones. It's all about layering. And go ahead and send me a picture of your finished one if you'd like to. I'd love to see how everyone's came out, and I hope that you all have as much fun with this as I did, and I just hope that you have a wonderful, happy, cool, beautiful fall like this.